Hey guys, Ron here. So quick update, actually not quick update, but an update on what's going on with this build. Waiting for some parts, they came. But in the interim I put three 1 terabyte drives on these racks. Got the SSD here and got the power supply in. And because this power supply's got spaghetti leads, and the way this case is built, only the 24 pin and maybe the GPU will need extensions or extensions for a custom look. The rest you won't see. The rest of the cables you won't see the CPU or anything else. Alright guys, so yeah, the parts came. I'll show you what's going on. The liquid master cooler 240 RGB cooling setup, RYZEN 5. Regular RYZEN 5, no graphics built in, and a Asus B350 Plus, which I use a lot. This is one of my favorite cards. And what's nice with this card, if I decide to switch this to a Ryzen 7 or one of the new 2200s with built-in graphics, I can just plug it in here, update the BIOS. It's already got HDMI out and VGA and all that good stuff on the board. These boards were, the first one I did about a year ago when it first came out, when the RYZEN first came out. These boards are already prepped for CPU with graphics because it's got all the outputs, everything set up. Alright guys, so I'll get this stuff open, get it put together, see what we got. Alright, we'll be back. This cooler looks like a really nice setup. What's interesting is the box opens sideways. It was like a Rubik's Cube. It was pretty funny. Okay, let's get this unpacked. So we got 2 RGB fans, low profile. The aluminum radiator and the cooling block, which I might as well show you. And what's nice is this is all low profile, because on this PHANTEKS valve we're going to use the tray on the top, and where I put that first hard drive mount doesn't leave a whole lot of room on top, so a nice copper base, aluminum, low profile. So this should be great. This should be fine. And a ton of mounting hardware, connectors, and all that good stuff. We'll get this out and check it out. Like I was saying, the clearance between this top drive, I'm going to add 2 more drives because I got 2 more racks coming, and where I'm going to mount the cooler is pretty close. But then again, it's only a 240, so it should fit fine. Got the removable rack. Since it's 240, it'll probably only go to here, so it'll clear it anyway. So I was thinking too far ahead. So let's get the motherboard and the CPU mounted and go from there. So you get 2 SATA data, IO shield, motherboard, and instruction book. Alright, let's get that in the CPU installed. Alright guys, here we go. We're going to get this together. Also, here's a test for you guys. I had to repair a system over the phone. I had built a system and given it to a guy, a B350 with a RYZEN 3, and it had a GTX 770 4 gig graphics card in it, and he was working fine, everything was going fine, and while it was powered up and on, he plugged in a VGA monitor, and he lost signal, lost graphics, and was freaking out. So he called me and I talked him through it. First I had him swap the memories around to see if it was a RAM problem. Didn't cure anything. Then he put another graphics card that his buddy had. He installed another graphics card. That didn't do it. Then I had him put the original graphics card back in the PCI slot, and that didn't do it. But he noticed at that point that he had an RGB keyboard, and the keyboard light wasn't working anymore. It wasn't lighting up. So What do you guys think it was? I got it working, but what do you think? Part of the clue is that the RGB lighting wasn't working, which means the USB was not working, USB port. So what I had him do is take the original card and put it in the original card was here in the first 16-speed slot. So what I had him do is take the original card, not the test card, and put it, I had him take the new card, put it in the second slot. It didn't work. Then I had him put the original card back in this slot, and it worked. Everything came up fine. So I got a feeling he blew out this PCI lean, and the card that he got from his buddy was a bad card. It was a GTX, it was a 960. And actually, I don't know if he was a friend or if he bought it because he was freaking out. But we got it up and running. That was good troubleshooting though. Anyway, so on these RYZENs, you know, there's an arrow, it's zero insertion. There's an arrow on the corner, and it's supposed to match up with an arrow on here. But I always found it's directly opposite the handle. And we'll double check. That's not good. Let's try this again. It didn't drop in, that's funny. Let me check the arrows just to be sure. Yeah, everybody's good. So like I said, these, zero insertion, no pressure, just drop in perfectly. And what's funny is they say there's a triangle on this corner, but it's very hard to see. It almost just blends in. Alright, so that's good. Alright, now we got to figure out the mounting for the cooler. I have no idea, so I'll be back. So this comes with a whole lot of RGB stuff, RGB connectors, Molex extender, splitter, little inline remote control if you don't have RGB header, mounting screws, mounting block, thermal paste, long screws, and I gotta go to the book and find out how this works for an AM4. Alright? Alright. Well, what's interesting is the AM4 uses the original, which is rare, the original AM plastic mounts, which usually you take off with AMD stuff. So for me to mount that on there now, the cooler, it's better if I put everything, the fans and radiator install in the top first and let that hang, install the motherboard first, then put the fans and the radiator up, and then I can lay this whole thing on its back and do it like that, and then plug this thing together. Alright, we'll be back. Alright guys, so we got this case laid down. We got to get this IO shield in there. I got a fan cable in the way, but we'll work around it. She's in, that's happy stuff. This is a heavy case, it's really sweet. Now I gotta look and see what the deal is with the standoffs on this thing. They don't seem to be here. Alright, let's see if we can get this in there without going nuts. I'm still recovering from my accident still. I had shoulder surgery. And I'm left-handed, of course, so I'm doing everything right-handed. It's a pain, let me tell you guys. I may have to move some of this stuff, these cables around. Let's see. Yeah, stand by. I don't have to reroute all these cables. Okay, basically he's lined up. Now I gotta see if he's a fine thread. What's cool with this case, it comes with hardware done properly. Also quality hardware. So I gotta see if he's a fine thread or I gotta feel he's a fine thread screws. Let's take a look. These are the little guys. I think these are coarse actually, so we'll see. Alright, so we got almost everybody in. Some of these angles are bad because the side of the wall is there, but you can get them. Remember, never over tighten. It's better to under tighten. If you over tighten, two things can happen. One, you can pull out the standoffs when you try to remove this, move the motherboard, and the standoffs will spin off with it, which is a pain. And two, you can crack the board. So tight, but snug, but not over tighten. Like I mentioned, Rolls-Royce mechanics only use on 3/8 inch ratchets, short handle, very short handle, not even a 12 inch, like a 6-inch handle. This way, because with a long handle, you get in the habit of over tightening without even knowing it. All right, so the board's in. I gotta squish that down a little. I don't like the way that looks. Everybody's in, and let's work on the cooler. All right, so she's in. All the screws are in nice and snug. 3 drives are in, SSDs in, power supply. But I was so curious as how the cooler worked as far as the cooling head and pump that I didn't look to see how the fans and the radiator go. But this has that removable chassis there, so we'll put the fans and the radiator on there and get her installed, and then get the cooler on the CPU. Alright, so we got the fans mounted, which is really easy. They're knurled screws. You can actually do them by hand and then tighten them up with a screwdriver after. We got to mount them on this this back plate. Then we got to figure out the bracket for that, get it on there, and phase. So the best way to do this is put it on the edge of the table so that that's hanging down and everything can be flush. It's a lot easier than trying to maneuver it and hold it. Alright? Alright, so we got all the screws in, and don't snug them down. Always leave them loose. This way you can do some fine adjustment and slide the frame a little bit to do any fine tuning. Once you have it exactly in the position you want, you can tighten them down and lock it in. But that's a beautiful thing. Alright guys, a little operator malfunction. I got to turn the fans around because when I took the tray out, instead of realizing that this is the back and that's the front, I mixed it up. So I got to turn the fans around because the cables are going out the front. We don't want that. Easy enough to do though. Alright, be back in a minute. Even though I tightened these slightly with a screwdriver, because they're knurled at the top, I was able to unthread them without a screwdriver and turn them around. Well, I haven't turned them yet, but I'm on the case. Get it turned around. I got to lay this case on its back again. It's the only way to really do this right. And get this tray in there, and then get the CPU cooler on the CPU. Minor detail. So you got to pop the mounting brackets on there, which we did, and there you go. Alright, the rest of this is set up alright, so let's get it installed. It's all mounted up nice. Just got to get the thermal paste on, get that on there, the right orientation, and get all the headers plugged in. The bottom of that. Here it is. Alright guys, so fan headers in, CPU cooler's on, CPU's in, motherboard's in, power supply's in, SSD's in, 3 hard drives, and I think we should be okay. I'm going to take a break and get back to you in a little bit. Alright. Alright guys, everything's in. No cable management at all until I test this thing. And I'm going to do some extensions anyway. But 3 hard drives back there. Move the SSD back here because the cable routing is easier. It's just too tough. Everything else in here is done. It doesn't look that bad considering there's no extensions. And I'm just using what we got. So I think the 24 pins, the only one's going to get an extension. And if I use a GP with big connectors, we'll put one through there. But it seems pretty good. I'm going to check it out. Give it a quick test with an old card. Hey guys, so I stole a GPU from another machine. And pretty messy wiring. I'm going to redo the wiring. But she's posting. So looking good. All the USB ports are acknowledged. The front lights are working. The reset switch is working. And there she is. CPU temperature is nice, 32 centigrade Celsius. And shows all 3 fans running, the 3 chassis fans, CPU, and the second chassis. Shows the memory speed, 35 megahertz. Damn, 2133s. Oh, CPU speed is 35. 3, 4, yeah. So let's get Windows loaded and do some temperature checks. Alright. Even though I haven't done any cable management or anything yet, it doesn't look that bad. Could be worse. It has been worse. Got the keyboard plugged in the front USB, the front panel lights on. The reset switch works. So we got everything first shot. First time I powered up, nothing. I forgot to put a RAM stick in, so I stole a RAM stick. And then there was something else. What was the other thing? Oh, the 24 pin, it's got that little 4 pin on the end, and the 20, it hadn't seated in all the way. So a couple little stupid things, but you get them, yeah. So I'm loading Windows. Drivers actually for the graphics card. It's just a temporary setup still. That's how she is. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit, and tomorrow I got another 2 more trays coming, so I can put 5 of these drives in there, which I'm going to do. The SSD I moved to the back, and just going to tighten it up, put a couple of cable extensions on there, make it look nice, and that's it. She's ready to go, rock and roll. I think I'm going to hang on to this, and I want to get rid of the i7 6700K. I think I'll get rid of that with the EVGA Z170 motherboard. That's a nice setup, but I'm really an AMD guy lately. That's a RYZEN over there. Alright guys, I had it on the RYZEN 5, it's a killer. So I'm going to upgrade that to a 7 and see what happens from there. So anybody sees this and wants this system, probably no graphics card, just i7 6700K, motherboard, power supply is a 500 watt full modular power supply, all the fans, the thermal tape, view 27 case. I'll throw in a VGA card to make it work, and you guys got to add your own graphics. 500 bucks, just in case. Alright guys. Okay guys, so this cooler is keeping it ridiculously cool under benchmarks. It's about 27 centigrade. And here she is, pretty much done. There's a small amount of fan whine as the speed changes. I think it's from the cooler. But that cooler's working exceptionally well. It also may be purging itself, because I had the same problem with the Captain 360. It made these weird noises till it purged itself. It took about 3 hours worth of use. Alright guys, this is a wreck again. That's what happens. I start taking stuff apart, putting it together.